Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Was the Forgotten Royal Jinchuriki Part 1, The Final Decision, Night of the Kyuubi Attack. Minato Namikaze, better known as the Yondaime Hokage, was battling the Kyuubi no Kitsune whom is attacking the village hidden in the leaves. Minato came up with a plan to protect his village. He sealed the beast inside his newborn son, Naruto, and inside himself. That night the Yondaime Hokage died. But not without giving his son one last gift. He gave him the necklace as a thing to remember him for, just like his father did to him and his mother. He also asked a third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi for his son to be hailed as a hero. With that he drew his last breath and died. His newborn son was crying in the arms of the third Hokage. Hiruzen Sarutobi third Hokage Pav. After Minato died, I looked at the baby crying in my arms, I couldn't help but smile at how he looks like his father, but also how cute he is crying. I took Naruto to the Sarutobi compounds and told the Anbu to look after him while I go to the council. I changed into a new attire and went to the council room. My advisors were already there and so were the shinobi and civilian council. I sat down and got straight business. No one's Pav. Hiruzen, we have a major problem at hand, our beloved fourth Hokage has passed away protecting our village. Anzo, what happened to the Kyuubi no Kitsune? Hiruzen, the Kyuubi no Kitsune was sealed inside a child. Minato sealed the other half inside himself and the other half inside that child. Civilian 1, then we should kill the child. Who knows how dangerous he could be if he grows up. Civilian 2, I agree, the demon will take over the child, and not only that, we will also be facing another threat to the village. I suggest we kill the child. Hiruzen, eyes widen, what? We can't do that, he's still a child. Anzo, I agree with you Hiruzen, I think we should train the boy when he grows up so he could be able to sustain the Kyuubi and use him to protect ourselves from other villages. Hiruzen, no, he will not be a weapon, I want him to grow up as a normal child. I don't want him to be mistreated just because he's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Also, he Minato's son. Before he died, he asked me for his son to be hailed as the hero of our village for protecting us from the Kyuubi. I think we should follow the fourth Hokage's last wish. Civilian 3, that boy is not the Yondaime's son, he's a demon whom killed our families. We can't let him live because of that. The Uchiha, aren't you going to reveal the boy's heritage? Hiruzen, I can't, if I do he will be in danger and our village as well. We have lost many shinobi tonight because of the Kyuubi attack. If I reveal his heritage the boy will be killed because of him being the fourth son. You know as well as I do that Minato made a lot of enemies during the third shinobi world war. The Uchiha, you are correct, why not let him be adopted by one of the clans? He will taken care of by then. Civilian 1, Hyuga-sama, why would we do that? The demon will only try to influence one of the clans in order to attack our village again. 2 hours of arguing. Hiruzen, all those in favor of Naruto being sent to the orphanage. All of the civilian council and my advisors raised their hands. Hiruzen, all those who oppose. Hiruzen raised his hand and also a few people from the shinobi council. Anzo snickers, sorry Hiruzen, but we outnumbered your vote. Naruto will be sent to the orphanage under the supervision of the civilian council. The fated encounter. It's been 7 years since the night of the Kyuubi attack. Konoha is flourishing since the attack. But today was a very special day for the Hidden Leaf. For today the Fire Daimyo is coming on an official visit to check how Konoha is doing after the attack. The Fire Daimyo arrived at the Leaf Village, but it was already nighttime. His carriage was heading towards the Hokage Tower where the Hokage is waiting for his arrival. But the Fire Daimyo suddenly heard the crying of a child. He quickly looked outside his window and in a dark alleyway, he saw a blonde-haired child with blue cerulean eyes and rags for clothes. He quickly ordered his guards to stop the carriage. He walked outside and went to the child. Naruto, POV. I was crying after some villagers came and yelled at me and then proceeded to hurt me again. While I was crying I saw a person walking towards me, I stood up and hid behind the dumpster. The person came and told me that he wouldn't hurt me and I saw him give me a sincere smile just like Hokage Jiji. So I came from behind the dumpster and talked to the kind man. He asked me who I was, so I just said. Naruto, the name's Naruto Uzumaki, Dadabeo. But then all of a sudden I saw black and fell back. Fire Daimyo POV. I was talking to the boy now identified as Naruto Uzumaki. But something about him was familiar. I was so lost in thought that I didn't notice he was falling down. I was brought out of my thought when I heard a loud crash. I panicked and then turned around and ordered my guards to take the dear boy to the physician and watch him. I was thinking that after the meeting with the Hokage I will go visit the boy. I then went into the carriage and proceeded to head to the Hokage Tower. I saw the Hokage and a group of people waiting for me. And in my mind, I was like, great hell is gonna be loose in the council room. Nobody's POV. Naruto was taken to the hospital by the Fire Daimyo's guard. When the guard got there the doctors refused to treat the boy. So the guard just threatened them that if they don't treat the boy they will face the Fire Daimyo's wrath. The doctors were scared shitless, so they just treated Naruto and told the guard that he was doing fine, it was just a few stab wounds, and they weren't life-threatening. The guard thanked the doctor and went to check on Naruto. When he went into the room he went and looked Naruto over and surveying the boy. He saw that made him freeze in his tracks. He saw the necklace and ran outside of the hospital room as fast as he can and told one of the guards to protect Naruto with his life. Fire Daimyo POV. I was currently sitting in the council room and man was this boring I was knocked out my thought when one of my guards burst through the door and came to me as fast as he can and told me what he had saw. I was surprised, happy, and angry. Had the Hokage knew this all along and didn't tell me. I was happy I finally found one of my descendants through Akihito. But who was this kid and who was his father's name? I quickly told the Hokage that this meeting is finished and that it will be continued some other time when I am available. I went to the hospital as fast as I can and went into the room the boy was being held. I saw the malnourished body of the boy and felt sad and furious. I then saw the necklace and was frozen in place. I thought the guard was just lying and yet the necklace is where he said he saw it. I then ordered one of the guards to do a blood test to see if there is a match. The guard quickly went away and I saw this as a perfect opportunity to overlook the boy's life. Third Hokage POV. When the fire daimyo went out I cursed under my breath that I won't be able to complete reading my precious icha. But I wonder where would the fire daimyo go at this time? Was he sick or something? Oh well I gotta go finish the damn paperwork. The truth. The fire daimyo was so happy in finding his grandson from his long-lost son, Akihito. He stayed in the hospital room waiting for the time Naruto woke up. He was thinking of how to make Naruto ascend the throne as his successor. I mean he does have children from his many concubines, but none of them were worthy of ascending the throne. They were mostly spoiled, irresponsible, negligent, and arrogant people who think that just because they were born into royalty, they can get anything they want and do anything they want. He was thinking of announcing Naruto as the new crown prince, since the position was vacant. He always wanted Akihito to ascend the throne when he found him, but since he is gone, his son will take his place. Taking Naruto out of Konoha will also prove to be difficult. He needed to make Naruto his heir discreetly, meaning he has to take Naruto out Konoha without the Hokage knowing he is gone. The daimyo was so immersed in his thoughts that he didn't see Naruto waking him up. Naruto, POV. I opened my eyes to see huge bars and weird-looking and chubby fox. I mean he's kinda cute when he is sleeping. Hey Foxy, are you awake? I asked. The fox its eyes and looked at me. I'm kinda scared. Puny human, it said. What did you say, Foxy? I said. The fox just stood up and looked at me. I'm surprised at its eyes. You must be my jailer. Well then I will introduce myself. I am known as the destroyer of mountains, cause of tsunamis, and powerfulest of the 9 bijus. I am the great, handsome, and powerful Kurama, the now known Kurama said. I'm so full of yourself then. Well I am Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage and future coolest shinobi, and I'm better than Sasuke. So Mr. Kurama, where are we? I said. The fox just blinked and looked at me with a look of confusion. Then it said something that took my surprised. You mean you don't know where you are? Gaki, we are in your mind, Mr. Kurama said. What? Man, that is so cool. But I thought my mind will look cooler than this place, I said. Mr. Kurama just looked at me and then he said, you really don't know what's going on, do you? Well, I try my best to understand the situation, but I can't, so, yeah, I don't understand. You really are stupid. Well, I am the 9-tailed fox, and you, my stupid Gaki, is my Jinchuriki. What? Don't worry, I will explain it. It starts with the attack I made on Konoha. Okay, so Kurama tells everything about the attack he made on Konoha that then led to the death of the 4th Hokage and Kushina Uzumaki. But Gaki, there is a secret that has been hidden from you since your birth. You are actually the son of the 4th Hokage and Kushina Uzumaki. You are the last of the Uzumaki royal family and heir to the throne of the land of Whirlpool. What? Are you serious? You mean to tell me that not only am I the son of the 4th, but I am also royalty? Yup, now I think you need to go. I feel someone is waiting for you to wake up. Oh, I am sure that it is Hokage Jiji. I mean he is the only one who cares about me. No, it's not him, it's someone else. I don't feel any negative energy from him. I think he cares for you. Just go visit him so I can go back to sleep. I said my goodbyes to Foxy-kun and woke up. When I woke up I saw an old dude wearing luxurious robes sitting on the side of the bed. Who are you, dude? Hire Daimyo POV. I see him waking up and I help him sit up. Are you okay? Yeah, I am okay, but seriously dude, who are you? Well, Naruto, I am your grandfather. I am your father's father. Before you go all haywire I'll explain. You see, your grandmother and I had a secret relationship. We came from different worlds, meaning I'm rich and she's not, but that didn't stop our love from blooming. It only made it strong, and the result of that love came your father, Akihito Minato. But due to my position we had to separate. Your grandmother went with your father, while I stayed to lead my people. When everything went back to normal, I searched for your grandmother and father, but I only found out that your grandmother was dead and your father was lost. I mourned for loss, but I still went on to search for your father, hoping that he was alive. But alas, he was also dead. Now I only have you, my dear grandson. Wow, that means I am 100% royal. OMG, I'm more important than Sasuke. Sasuke. Yeah, Hess that duckbit team, who thinks Hess so special just because he comes from the Uchiha clan. Well, then Naruto, we have so much to talk about. Especially your new position as Crown Prince of the Land of Fire. The escape plan. After the Fire Daimyo revealed his side of the story, Naruto reveals to him that he is also the last member of the Uzumaki royal family. The Daimyo was surprised to hear this and continued to ask him. Flashback. Daimyo Jiji, I also have something to tell you. The Daimyo nodded and Naruto continued to tell him that not only is he royal from his father's side, but also from his mother's side. His mother is Kushina Uzumaki, the last royal heir to the throne of Yuzu no Kuni. The Daimyo was happy to hear this and told Naruto to rest while he goes to deal with some business. Flashback ended. Present. The Daimyo walks outside Naruto's room and heads to his carriage. On the way to his estate, he is happy to find out that Naruto is also royal, but from the famed and powerful Uzumaki royal family. This little secret could solidify his role as a crown prince of the Land of Fire. All Naruto needs is teaching, and in a few years he will be up to the task. The Daimyo was so deep in thought that he didn't notice that they have already arrived. Your Majesty, we have arrived. The Daimyo looks up and mutters a little thank you and heads inside. He heads towards his office and went inside and calls for his most trusted bodyguard. Long Fei, I have a task for you. I want you to prepare my return to the capital, we are heading back in 2 days. I want you to find perfect tutors to teach my grandson in history, art, kinjutsu, ninjutsu, taijutsu, bujutsu, and etiquette. Long Fei takes in his orders and leaves. The Daimyo was thinking of how to take Naruto out of Konoha without being detected by the shinobi sensors and its many security. The Daimyo decided to get some rest if he wants to see his grandson in the early morning. In the hospital bed, Naruto is thinking of his life went from being hated by most of the Konoha population to being a prince of 2 dynasties. He smiles at the thought of not being alone anymore. Then he drifts off to sleep. The next morning, Naruto wakes up to doctor standing next to him and telling him that he has been released from the hospital. Naruto gets ready to leave when a guard comes inside his room and tells him that his grandfather is waiting for him at his estate. Naruto smiles at the thought of his grandfather. When he was ready he went with the guard. He was being escorted back to the estate on a carriage. At first he refuses to be escorted on a carriage like those spoiled brats, but the guards manage to convince him that it's for his safety. So here we see Naruto being escorted on his grandfather's carriage. The people stop to bow and their lord when in actuality it was Naruto, the so-called demon brat, that they were bowing to. The people were so oblivious that it was Naruto and not their lord. Inside the carriage Naruto was laughing his ass out at how stupid the people of Konoha are to believe that he was his grandfather. He ceased laughing and continued to wait patiently until they arrived at his grandfather's estate. When they arrived, Naruto marveled at the beauty of his grandfather's estate. The estate was simply beautiful. The gates were made of oak and adorned with medals and the crest of the royal family. He went inside and saw that it was also beautiful. There were gardens, pavilions, and statues. He saw servants going about their daily chores. Wow, this place is awesome, I smiled and twirled. I heard laughing and turned around to see grandfather laughing while holding his hips. Grandfather, I yelled and ran at him. I jumped and hugged him, he hugged me back and led me to his office. Naruto, we are heading back to the capital and I have decided to take you back with me. For this to succeed we are going to put under a disguise. Now listen carefully, we are going to disguise as my nephew, Prince Genji. He is the same age as you and has similar characteristics to you, but for all this to work you need to act perfectly. Of course Gramps, I can act perfectly, I've been doing it for a long time. The Fire Daimyo smiles and told Naruto to go stay in his new room. Naruto goes to the room and reads a few books on how to behave like a proper royal. He reads for the entire day and when night came his food was delivered to him. He ate and continued to read his book. It was already late so he went to bed and slept. The Great Escape. Today was the day the escape plan will be put into action. Naruto is getting ready to do his part and act as his grandfather's nephew. So here we see Naruto in his disguise to escape from Konoha. Your Highness, it is time to leave. Your grandfather is already waiting for you. Naruto nods to the servant and went to his grandfather whom was already waiting for him inside the carriage. Upon entering his grandfather told him that he must not talk much and always look sad. Naruto takes in the information and acts accordingly. When they arrived at the border between Konoha and the capital, he saw 2 Hyuga guards surveying the carriage. They passed and was then checked by censor shinobis to see if there is anyone who seems suspicious. The guards at first were suspicious of him, but then they didn't think much of me when they were told I was the nephew of the Fire Daimyo. The guards finally let us go and we headed towards the capital without a hitch. Grandfather, that went smoothly than I had initially thought, don't agree. I agree my dear grandson, but enough about the escape. Listen, we are going to the capital, and when we arrive there I am going to announce you as my grandson and my heir. Of course grandfather, I will be ready to accept my roles as heir in order help you in your burdens. Good thinking my boy, now we are almost there, be ready for the welcoming party. There will be my many concubines waiting there with my other children. Upon arrival many official, concubines, prince and princess were waiting. Naruto and his grandfather went outside the carriage. Many people were surprised to see Naruto but didn't show it. The welcoming ceremony went smoothly, but there are many people that questioned the fire daimyo on who Naruto was. Your Majesty, who is the boy you came with? The Prime Minister asked. Prime Minister, ready for the crowning ceremony in 2 days, the Land of Fire has just found its heir. It will be done, Your Majesty. Naruto was introduced to many of the officials, concubines, prince and princess. Many liked him while others outright hate him. Naruto was escorted to his new residence, the Crown Prince's palace. The coronation. It was a beautiful day, the flowers bloomed, the birds sang, and the sky was cloudless. This day is a very special occasion, for you see today is the coronation of Naruto as the new Crown Prince of the Land of Fire. Your Highness, you are almost ready. The servants were busy styling the robes for the coronation. The robes were simply magnificent, but they displayed an aura of authority and power. The servant styled his hair elegantly and left bangs on each side of his head. Naruto was simply the epitome of royalty, with his face void of any expression or emotion. Your Highness, the coronation is about to begin, we should head over there right away. Let's show the people of the Land of Fire what their new crown prince is made of. Naruto heads to where the coronation is being held. When he arrives there many people were already there waiting for him. He walks to the center of the path, takes a deep breath and walks forward. The first crowd he went through were the common folk that were cheering for him, the second were merchants, they clapped, the third were the aristocrats, a few of them cheered clapped while the others weren't. When he got to his destination, a lot of important officials, concubines, princes, princess were waiting for him. He walks up to the steps to where his grandfather is waiting for him on his throne. He arrives to the top of the steps and kneels, and his grandfather stood up to start the coronation. When out of nowhere someone shouted out, "Father, why is it that peasant that you just found is being coronated the crown prince of this land when we were waiting for so long to be crown prince?" "That's right father, this is unfair. How could you let a peasant become the next king of this land? What right does that peasant have that we don't? We have the support of the ministries behind us. What does he have that we don't?" Naruto just kneeled there without looking back. His grandfather was angry because of this sudden outburst and ordered the guards to restrain the insolent princes and lock them in prison so he could deal with them later. "Grandfather, let me handle it. I would show the people of the Land of Fire who I truly am and the power that I possess." Note: the fire daimyo's name is Tenno Shinji. The fire daimyo nods towards Naruto and Naruto stood up and looked towards the crowd of people whom are now curious of what he's about to say. "People of the Land of Fire, I know that this is new to all of you. But to support my claim to the position of crown prince, I will tell you of my ancestry. My father was the long-lost son of fire daimyo Tenno Shinji, Akihito Shinji. My father is no longer of this world, but I will continue to lead on his legacy. My father was the 4th Hokage of Konoha. But this information is not the only thing that solidifies my role as crown prince. I am also the last surviving heir to the throne of the Land of Whirlpool." This statement caused an uproar in the aristocracy, ministries, and the royal family. Princess. "How do we know you're telling the truth? The last known heir was the late Princess Kushina Uzumaki. I am telling the truth, my mother is Kushina Uzumaki. To prove my statement, here is a DNA test done to prove my claim to the thrones of both the Land of Fire and Whirlpool. As you all know, the Uzumaki royal family were known to be the richest royal families in the shinobi world. This was one of the reasons why Kumo, Kiri, and Iwa decided to destroy my homeland. For years, the Land of Whirlpool has been in lockdown, that is because it is sealed with a seal that can only be opened by blood relatives of the Uzumaki royal family. If I reopen the Land of Whirlpool, the treasures and wealth of the Uzumaki royal family will be transferred to me in my name. With this wealth, I will help with paying massive debts that have robbed the treasury. So does this prove my right to the position of crown prince?" All of the people were silent and then they erupted into cheering and clapping. The coronation then continued without any disruption. "Do you accept your role as crown prince to protect and defend the Land of Fire and its citizens?" "I will. But the power vested in me by the previous rulers of the Land of Fire, I hereby crown you, Crown Prince Naruto of the Lands of Fire and Whirlpool. Long live the crown prince." The people cheered long live the crown prince. In that moment the name Naruto was no more, now he is reborn as Crown Prince Akihito of the Lands of Fire and Whirlpool. Review. In Konoha. What a beautiful day to be a ninja. We see young students practicing their shuriken and kunai throwing. Very good Sasuke. Now, Naruto Uzumaki is Naruto Uzumaki here. "Iruka sensei, Naruto hasn't attended school for the last 3 days," replied a bored voice. can you guys guess who this is? Okay, listen up, I am going to leave you guys here for 15 minutes and you guys better behave. I am going to visit the Hokage, replied Iruka, and he hurriedly left for the Hokage Tower. Hokage Tower. The Hokage was happily reading his precious Icha books when all of a sudden the doors burst open. Holy freaking hog monkey, what the hell is it? Replied the startled Hokage. Sir, sorry for barging in, but I have something to report, replied Iruka in an apologetic voice. Sir, Naruto has disappeared, he hasn't attended class for the last 3 days, he usually is at his home or in the forest, but I already checked those places before coming here. If Naruto is missing, then that means someone has taken him or he left on his own. Iruka, gather the Anbu Black Ops, we are going to search for Naruto secretly. Iruka nodded and hurried to fulfill the Hokage orders. The third Hokage then left Naruto's apartment. Upon entering he found a note on the table. Dear Hokage Jiji, I thank you for your love, care and support, but I cannot stay in Konoha any longer. You and Inu-san will be the only people I will miss. Don't worry Jiji, I will return, and when that day comes, Konoha will finally accept me. I love you Jiji. Yours truly, Naruto Uzumaki. Tears filled the Hokage's eyes, and he returned to the Hokage Tower with a sour mood. Sir, the council has requested your presence. The Hokage looked towards his assistant and nods. He headed towards the council chambers. Upon entering, he was greeted with the sight of arguing council members. When they saw the Hokage they showed their respects and began to quiet down. Lord Hokage, we have heard that the Kyuubi brat is gone, is this true? Replied a civilian council member. Yes, it is, replied the Hokage. When hearing the Hokage words the civilian council members burst into cheers and laughter. The Kyuubi brat is gone, the Kyuubi brat is gone, cheered the civilian council members. The Hokage has had enough of this and shouted. Enough, do you know what you are doing? You are celebrating the disappearance of the son of your hero, the fourth Hokage. Not only this, but you dare to break the law I have put forward. This is it, I have gone too soft over the years, but now it is over. From this moment forward, the civilian council is disbanded. They will no longer hold any power in handling affairs of the government. The Shinobi Academy will be put under the jurisdiction of the Shinobi Council to handle and change the subjects and schedule put forward by the civilian council. The Hokage orders were met with many complaints, but they were all silent when the Hokage ordered his Anbu Black Ops to take 3 of the civilian council members to Ibiki and Anko. They were all silent since no one wants to become a victim of Ibiki and Anko's mentality. The civilian council members were then led outside. The Shinobi Council let out some sighs of frustration and happiness. Frustrated because they have so many paperwork now, and happy because now the nuisance that was the civilian council are gone. What are you going to do now, Lord Hokage, replied the stoic head of the Hyuga clan. I will start with re-establishing the Ninja Academy to its old days and re-teach the students the important stuff they need to know, replied the tired Hokage. This meeting is now adjourned, we will meet again in 2 days' prime. By then I expect some ideas. The Hokage then left to return to his home. He thinks to his surrogate grandson, Naruto, I hope you are safe and happy, thought the Hokage. He then drift off to sleep. Naruto ancestry. In this chapter, I am introducing Naruto's ancestry. Naruto is born from his parents, Minato Namikaze Akihito Shinji and Kushina Uzumaki. They died protecting him. Naruto is put into the orphanage but is kicked out at the age of 3. The third Hokage takes Naruto in and makes him his own apartment. Naruto is then found by the fire daimyo, Tenno Shinji, whom was traveling to Konoha on business. Naruto is later revealed to be the grandson of the fire daimyo and the new heir to both the thrones of the Land of Fire and Whirlpool. Naruto is then taken out of Konoha, disguised as Prince Genji, the nephew of the fire daimyo. Naruto arrives at the capital and is coronated the crown prince. Family tree. Tenno Shinji Lee Namikaze. Minato Namikaze Akihito Shinji. Mina Uzumaki unknown. Princess Kushina Uzumaki. Minato Namikaze Princess Kushina Uzumaki. Crown Prince Naruto Uzumaki Akihito Shinji. This is Naruto's family tree. His maternal grandfather is unknown at this moment, but he will be introduced in future chapters. So for now Naruto is in the capital and is learning everything he needs to know as the crown prince. The assassination attempt. In the courtyard of the royal palace, we see 2 people practicing the art of the sword. Very good, your highness. You are excelling very well in the art of the sword, replied a tall muscular man. I only have my sensei to thank for that, Akihito replied politely. They then did a few more practices when a servant ran up to Akihito and told him that he has 2 more minutes until his history lessons. After the 2 minutes Naruto leaves for his last class, history. The history class takes some time to finish. So your highness, that is the reason why the land of Whirlpool was invaded and destroyed. Because of their alliance with Konoha. Said the history tutor, Mr.Lee. Naruto thanked Mr.Lee for the lesson and heads towards his private washroom. Unknown POV. The dark figure orders his servant to find out if the rumors are true. Zetsu, I want you to find out if this prince is indeed the last of the Uzumaki royal family. Bring some of his DNA so we can do some testings on. Zetsu nods and goes to fulfill his master's orders. Back to Naruto. The washroom was simply the epitome of perfection. High ceiling, crystal walls, oak floors, and huge bathtub. It's anyone's dream. The room was misty and warm. Naruto was taking his bath with scented lavender. When all of a sudden masked individuals came into the washroom and attacked Naruto. Naruto avoided the assassins and heads for his sword. "Who sent you here?" replied the stoic Naruto. He puts on his bathrobes and opens his sword. "We sent here by the Shinigami to collect your soul," answered one of the assassins. All of his comrades laughed. Naruto used this as opportunity and attacked them head-on. He yells for the guards and continues to fight the assassins off. Meanwhile, Zetsu arrives at the room and uses the distraction to get some DNA samples from Naruto. Swords marks marred the luxurious washroom's walls, floors, and ceilings. Naruto paralyzes the last of the assassins and looked towards the weird anomaly whom was already gone by going down the floorboards. When the guards arrived, they took the paralyzed assassin in for questioning. The fire daimyo rushes over to Naruto. "My dear grandson, are you okay?" asked the concerned daimyo. Naruto nods and tells his grandfather to not worry. Naruto later goes to sleep after doing a security check for strange activity. Next day, the throne room was a mess. Ministers were arguing over who was responsible for the assassination attempt on the crown prince. A guard hurries in and tells the daimyo that the assassin is ready to talk. The assassin was brought inside and immediately the arguing stopped. They looked at the assassin and expected the answer. "Your Majesty, we were sent here to assassinate the crown prince," answered the scared assassin. The fire daimyo was anxious to find out who ordered him and says, "On whose orders?" the fire daimyo said. "On the orders of Concubine Wei, Your Majesty," answered the assassin. The fire daimyo was outraged and orders the guards to lock Concubine Wei. The ministers argued amongst themselves while trying to appease the fire daimyo's wrath. Naruto was surprised to hear that it was Concubine Wei. She has always been nice to him, but maybe that was just a facade. Unknown POV. The dark figure was waiting for his servant's return. When he sees the outline of his servant comes out of the earth. "Madara-sama, we have gotten the DNA sample just as you wanted," replied Zetsu. The now identified Madara nodded and ordered Zetsu to do the DNA test. Hours later, Zetsu came with the results. "Madara-sama, the results are here. Crown Prince Akihito is the last of the Uzumaki royal family," said Zetsu. Upon hearing this, Madara nodded and told Zetsu to leave. After Zetsu left, he looked towards his family photo. Him, his beloved, and daughter were so happy. But their happiness was taken away by that unexpected invasion. The loss. Awakening the power within. In the royal throne room, ministers are gathered for the usual morning meetings. On the throne sat a man in his late 50s with luxurious clothes. This man is the fire daimyo, Tenno Shinji. On his left his trusted man, eunuch Chang, standing there with a stoic face. On the throne to his right sat a blonde young boy with a bored expression, the young crown prince Akihito. On his left stood his bodyguard best friend, Kangsu. The royal court is divided into two factions. These factions are the Orchid and the Ravenclaws. These two factions are led by the two ministers. Right Minister Chu leads the Orchid, while left Prime Minister Shu leads the Ravenclaws. And today is another normal day where they argue over something as simple as who gets to go and distribute sacks of rice to the peasants, personally. "Your Majesty, we of the Orchids won't stoop to something so low as to give sacks of rice to those filthy peasants," replied the disgusted Right Prime Minister. The rest of the Orchid members agreed and shouted their agreement with their leader. "Your Majesty, it will be an honor for the Ravenclaws to take on this simple task of just giving sacks of rice to the people of our nation. Unlike the pompous Orchids over there, we love our people," replied the smirking left Prime Minister. Before the Right Prime Minister Chu could retort, the throne room was filled with laughing from the young crown prince. "OMG, old man PMC, you just got burned by PMS. Man, this is funny," answered the laughing crown prince. Everyone in the throne room was bewildered at the crown prince's behavior, except for the Orchid members. It is resolved then, the Ravenclaws will be the ones responsible for distributing sacks of rice to the people. "I hope you guys work diligently in your responsibilities." "Court dismissed," said the fire daimyo. The daimyo stood and left, followed by the young crown prince, who was leaving to his private training ground. He arrives there and puts on his training clothes and begins his match with his best friend. Concubine Li Fan POV. A beautiful woman sits on top her chair looking at her hired missing nin. She is none other than the fire daimyo's former favorite concubine, Lady Li Fan. "It's simple really, you just get in his private training grounds and murder him," said Lady Li Fan. The missing nin heeded her orders and went to fulfill their orders. "You think you can just come here and take my son's rightful place as crown prince? Well then you're mistaken, because it's going to be his when you're dead," thought Lady Li Fan. Akihito POV. "I was fighting with my best friend when I felt an unfamiliar chakra signature heading towards us in an alarming rate. I stopped and threw a kunai at this mysterious intruder. "Who are you?" I asked. The mysterious man wasn't talking, he just stared at me. I kinda admit it was very creepy. Judging from his clothes, I think he is a shinobi. I looked at his hit I-8 and saw the symbol of Kurigakure crossed out. He's a missing nin. Hangsu, he's a missing nin, be careful, he should not be underestimated. I told me best friend. We both entered in fighting stances, he ran towards us and hit us with his katana. We exchanged blows until I was starting to get tired. Getting tired, your highness, the mysterious man taunted. I looked up at him and ran at him and threw my bestest shot. I saw Kangsu knocked out on the ground. It's just me and him right now. I tried calling for the guards through the signals I have sent out before I fought this guy, but they seem to have not catch it. Shadow clone jutsu, 100 clones of myself appeared and I told them to attack the man. He destroyed them like they were nothing. He then came running towards me, he punched me and I fell on the ground. Well, no guards, right, your highness, I killed them before I came here. You deserve to know who I am Kuragi, a missing nin from Kurigakure, and your executioner. He swung his katana, stabbed me, and I closed my eyes. Nothing hit me. When I look up, I saw Kangsu using himself as a shield to protect me from the katana. Kangsu looked towards me and smiled, he then used his katana and stabbed Kuragi, catching him off guard. I then came forward and killed Kuragi by cutting of his head. His body fell down lifelessly. I looked towards the body of my best friend and ran towards it. I sat beside his body. Kangsu, don't worry, I won't let you die, just please hold on, I told him. But he was too stubborn to listen, he insisted I listen to what he has to say. Akihito, for as long as I know you, you were the kind young master that I have served. You loved your people and nation, and you treat your servants with respect and kindness. I am glad I serve Ed you Akihito may your reign as daimyo be peaceful and harmonic. His breathing slowed down and eventually it stopped. Kangsu died in front of me, I cried over the loss of my best friend. Tears stained my face, I screamed over in agony, sadness, despair, and anger. Nature must have felt my sadness because it started to rain. My best friend is dead because of a stupid missing nin. I promise you Kangsu, I will give you justice. I felt my eyes stinging of pain, I looked towards my reflection in the puddle and saw something that made me gasp. I have the Sharingan, and it already has 3 tomos. I was so busy looking at my eyes that I didn't hear my grandfather and his guards rushing inside my private training grounds. Akihito, are you okay? Are you hurt? My worried grandfather asked. Don't worry, grandfather, I replied. I then looked at my grandfather and when he saw my eyes he fainted. Well, I guess I have a lot of explaining to do. The escort part 1. In the office there are 3 individuals sitting down. The daimyo, the right prime minister, and the left prime minister are these 3 individuals. They are debating whether for the crown prince to go to Konoha to complete his shinobi training. The fire daimyo's office image above. Your majesty, I don't think it is good idea for the crown prince to go to Konoha after what they have done. The right prime minister Chu said. The fire daimyo's takes prime minister Chu's suggestion into consideration. Then he asks left prime minister Shu for his suggestion. Your majesty, I think it is good idea for the crown prince to go to Konoha. He will be able to learn more over there than here in the capital. The crown prince will also be able to practice his Sharingan there if he is given the correct instructions. He will also be able to get to know his chosen bride, the Lady Hinata of the Hyuga clan. The left prime minister Shu says. The fire daimyo takes both of their suggestions into consideration and decides to go with prime minister Shu's idea. They then debate on who from the Uchiha clan they will choose to help the crown prince with his Sharingan. They then decided on choosing the Uchiha clan's prodigy, Itachi Uchiha, to be the private tutor of the crown prince. The fire daimyo then agreed on their ideas and told the prime ministers that they are now excused. The fire daimyo then tells eunuch Chang to get the crown prince. Eunuch Chang leaves to get the crown prince, the fire daimyo is now left alone with his thoughts. Akihito POV. I was busy practicing my ninjutsu forms when eunuch Chang arrived and told me my grandfather is waiting for me at his office. I then put on my clothes and head for my grandfather's office. When I arrived there I smelled the faint smell of tea. When I entered his office, I saw him sitting at his desk and sipping his tea. Hello grandfather, you asked for me. I ask him. He looks up to me and tells me to sit down. When I sat down, he tells me that I am returning to Konoha. I was happy to hear this, since not only will I see those people that made my life hell, I will also see the love of my life, Hinata. Yup guys, I fell in love her when I met that other night. I was never in love with Sakura, it was all just part of my act. So grandfather, when will I leave? I asked. You will leave next week, I just sent word to the Hidden Leaf of your arrival, they will be sending their best shinobi to help escort you. Now listen, you will arrive just in time for their graduation test. So I wish you best of luck at the graduation. Grandfather said. I then thank him for his kind words and then he tells me who is going to help me train with my Sharingan. I was so happy hearing that it was Itachi, he was also one of the people that helped me in my childhood. I can't wait to see his face when he see that it is me. Well, I will wait. The Escort Part 2. Konoha was very peaceful and serene. Kids were playing and the adults were doing their normal routine. The birds were chirping and the weather was warm. In the Hokage Tower, the Hokage was enjoying his Icha book when a shinobi informed him of the arrival of a messenger from the capital, Kyoto. The Hokage grumbled about being interrupted when he was reading his preciouses. The Hokage ordered the shinobi to let the messenger inside. "So what brings you here to the village?" asked the Hokage. "Lord Hokage, I have been ordered to inform you of the arrival of the Crown Prince to Konoha in a week's time. The Fire Daimyo has ordered you to send your bestest shinobi to help escort the Crown Prince here," said the messenger. "Did the Fire Daimyo say why he is coming to Konoha?" the Hokage asked again. "The Crown Prince is coming here to complete his shinobi training and to meet his bride, Lady Hinata," said the messenger. The Hokage nodded, understanding the reason why the Crown Prince was coming. He told the messenger that he can leave, he then called for his Anbu agent, Possum, to gather the council. Council room. The council room was silent as the shinobi council and the elders waited patiently for the Hokage's arrival. A few minutes later, the Hokage had finally arrived with a grim expression. The council has started to worry to what has caused the Hokage such distress. "Lord Hokage, is something wrong? Why have you summoned us?" asked a clan head. The Hokage took a huff of his smoking pipe and looked at everyone in the council room one by one. The council members felt intimidated, whether by the way the Hokage is looking at them or the way the mood is starting to change. "I have summoned you all here for something important," the Hokage said mysteriously. The council members looked at each other with one of their eyebrows raised until a brave member asked the Hokage. "Had is it, Lord Ho-Oh.Kage," the council member stuttered. "Today, I just got word that the Fire Daimyo's aunt, Lady Takaharu, is coming here with her cat. But the only problem is, she isn't coming with only Tora, I have been informed that she has adopted 5 more cats just like Tora," the Hokage said grimly. The council members all had a horrified expressions, suddenly all hell broke loose as every member started to say that they should stop the Lady Takaharu from coming here or just get rid of the demon cats and blame it on an accident. Everyone was arguing when they stopped as they heard the Hokage laughed. "Lord Hokage, what is wrong? Is there something funny?" asked the Aburam clan head, Shibi. The Hokage calmed down and wiped a tear from his eye. "Don't tell me you all fell for that lame joke," the Hokage said after he finished laughing. The council nodded their heads in unison, then when they knew what was going on, they all looked at the Hokage with an annoyed look. The Hokage chuckled a bit before he went into full business mode. "A messenger from the Fire Capital has arrived," the Hokage said. Everyone was surprised since the Fire Daimyo doesn't usually plan official visits or checkup during this time of the year, besides it had been a long time since the Fire Daimyo came to Konoha. So they waited for the Hokage to answer their thoughts. "The Crown Prince is coming here to complete his shinobi training." To this the council was also surprised since it's gonna be the first time in Konoha history for a royal to come to Konoha to train, especially in the shinobi way. I mean, royals do know how to fight, but they are trained in the samurai way, not the shinobi way. So it's surprising to hear a royal learning about ninjutsu and taijutsu. "I want all of you to prepare and make sure the Crown Prince's arrival is spectacular. I want everything to be clean and beautiful from the bottom up. Also, Hiashi the Crown Prince is also here to visit his bride. Make sure she is ready." To say everyone was upset about the many work, they wouldn't complain because they at least get to see the mysterious Crown Prince. There was many rumors surrounding the Crown Prince, some people say that he is gay because when his bodyguard died, he never spared a glance at a girl or even touch a girl. Some people also say that he is a demon in human form who tricked the Fire Daimyo into believing that he is his long-lost grandson. But that will be proven when he arrives. "We also have another issue. Who will be sent to help escort the Crown Prince?" the concerned Hokage said. Everyone started to think on who to send when Shikaku Nara said, "Why not send Kakashi Haddock and 5 of our best Anbu Black Op agents?" Everyone agreed when Fugaku Uchiha also added, "I request you also send my eldest son, Itachi Uchiha, to help with the escort." Everyone also agreed on what Fugaku said. So it was settled, the escort unit has been found, the redecoration of Konoha is in session, but now to inform the academy on the new student. Konoha Academy. Out on the academy courtyard, children are seen practicing shuriken kunai throwing, practicing their jutsus, and learning about the other shinobi nations. When the civilian council was disbanded, the academy was reformed. The usual training sessions of only training for 2 hours was changed to hard and vigorous training for 5 hours. The once lazy academy students were changed into smart but not overly talented young shinobi, but they were still learning. The messenger shinobi informs all the teachers about the Crown Prince arrival and then left. The teachers immediately gathered all the students and made an announcement. "Students of Konoha Academy, listen up. In a week, we are going to have a special student who is coming from the capital city of the Land of Fire, Kyoto. We are going to welcome him in open arms and not make fun him or bully him, understand you little brats. Now that is all, go back to your training. The students resumed their training while they whispered to each other. They were curious on who from the capital is coming when it's almost graduation day. So, who do you think is coming from the capital? Shikamaru asked Shoji while munching on his chips. I don't know, but it's troublesome, said the bored Nara while looking at the clouds. Everyone was training when the bell rang. They quickly left. The students all left with one thought on their minds: who is the mysterious visitor? Hokage Tower. The Hokage was waiting for the arrival of his chosen escorts, well, one of the escorts that is. Kakashi Haddock, the copycat ninja, is always late. This one is also an exception. After 2 hours of waiting, Kakashi finally arrived, and when asked why he was late, he told us that he was helping out an old lady with groceries, and after that a black cat crossed his path, so he had to take the long way around. The Hokage quickly dismissed his excuse and went straight to business. Kakashi, I have made you the leader of the escort team. You and your team are to go to Kyoto and help escort the crown prince to Konoha. Got it. Kakashi understood the situation at hand and nodded. The Hokage quickly dismissed and ordered them to leave first thing in the morning. Meeting the prince. 2 days have passed and the Konoha escort have finally arrived. They immediately went to meet the fire daimyo. On their way, they saw a blonde young boy practicing kenjutsu with an older man they believed to be his teacher. They paid no mind to the young boy, but instead they focused more on the task at hand. They arrived at the throne room and could grovel at its magnificence. They immediately paid their respects to the fire daimyo. Greetings, your majesty. I am Kakashi Haddock of Konoha, and these are my comrades. We have been ordered by the Hokage to help with escorting the young crown prince to Konoha. The fire daimyo was relieved to hear that his grandson was being escorted by the famed copy nin. With this in mind, he was somewhat sure his grandson would be safe and protected. So you must be the famed copy nin. I've heard so much about you, said the young blonde boy. Kakashi and his comrades saw who it was and were surprised. It was the young boy from earlier. Said boy strolled past them and went to the fire daimyo. He paid his respects and sat on the throne meant for the crown prince. They connected the dots, and they also paid their respects to the crown prince. Grandfather, are they the escort from Konoha? Indeed, my grandson, Kakashi-san. I would like you to meet my grandson, Akihito Shinji, the crown prince of the land of fire and whirlpool. Kakashi just looked at the young boy whom was sitting next to the fire daimyo. There was something familiar about him, but he couldn't find it. He continued analyzing the crown prince. He was a young boy with an authoritative aura. But he couldn't see his face since it was covered by a mask. Naruto wears a mask just like Kakashi's. Your Royal Highness, I am Kakashi Haddock and these are my comrades. We are here to help escort you back to Konoha. Kakashi-san, you and your comrades must be tired from your journey. Eunuch Chang escort them to the guest room. Oh, and Kakashi-san, we leave at 9:00 a.m. in the morning. I heard about your little habit, so don't be late. Or I will burn every single icha book out there and make you watch it. Kakashi was scared from the crown prince's threat and planned to sleep early. He and the rest of the Anbu followed Eunuch Chang to their temporary rooms. Akihito was left alone with the fire daimyo. Akihito, be safe, I don't want to lose you like how I lost your father. Don't worry grandfather, I will, but don't worry, we will meet again at the Chunin exams. That is true, but still, the life of a shinobi is difficult. So I hope you stay safe and don't get hurt. Akihito reassured his grandfather and told his grandfather that he should return to his lessons. Akihito POV. The land of Whirlpool had an alliance with the land of fire since ancient times. Your grandfather's great-great-grandfather, Fire Daimyo, Minamoto Shinji, was the one to sign the alliance with the Whirlpool Daimyo, Daisuke Uzumaki. Since then they have always been in peaceful terms. Mr. Lee, I have a question, said man nodded. What happened after Whirlpool was destroyed? After Whirlpool was destroyed, the land of fire seized Whirlpool territory and the fire daimyo became the steward to the Uzumaki royal family's accounts and territories since Princess Kushina was still young. When she was old enough she regained control to her family's accounts, but since her death the duty once again fell to the fire daimyo. I was surprised to learn yet another truth about my family. Man, my family sure has many secret. I wonder what other secret my family is hiding. But time will tell. I dismissed Mr. Lee and began to read some books on the history of Konoha. I'm rereading the history of the 4 Hokages. I'm currently reading about the Nidaime Hokage. That man was a genius, but I always wondered. Why did he hate the Uchiha so much? I mean, I can understand Madara, but why the entirety of the Uchiha clan? That always kept me wondering. My thoughts were interrupted when I heard the doors opening. Akito Nai-sama shouted, a smiling little girl. Mika, what did I tell you about coming inside my chamber without notifying me? She pouted and came up to me. Ni-sama, I wanted to surprise you since you're leaving. I smiled at how adorable she is. Well, what did you want to give me? She smiled and went to get the thing her maid was holding. She put the bowl of colorful ooze on my desk and came to sit on my lap. I made this stew myself, big brother, and I wanted you to taste it. I looked at the bowl of ooze, and I could swear I saw some glitter and beads in there. I asked her what's it called, and she said that it's her super rainbow glitter farewell soup. I immediately looked at her servant and she shook her head telling me not to eat. But I didn't want to hurt her feeling, so I tasted it. I regretted it was disgusting, and I could feel my stomach disagreeing with it. So I continued to eat the soup until it was finished. She was so happy I finished the soup she made and told me that she's going to go do some more for the Konoha escort team. Before I could tell her no, she was already gone. I was about to go after her when my stomach made some funny sounds. Well, I'll go to her later, but now I gotta go to the toilet really bad. Leaving the capital, it was finally morning, the sun was rising while the moon was setting. The palace was bustling with activity, as servants and soldiers alike were busy preparing for the departure of the crown prince. Servants were carrying luggage after luggage of everything the prince needed. From clothes to weapons, favorites, books, favorite games, favorite paintings, and to personal items. In the guest rooms, Kakashi and his comrades were getting ready for their departure when a eunuch came to tell him that he was summoned to the throne room. Kakashi was a little suspicious of being summoned early in the morning. But he went anyways, I mean he can't just avoid the fire freaking daimyo. Throne room, Kakashi arrived and went with the usual routine of paying his respects. He asked the fire daimyo on why he was summoned. Kakashi-san, I know that you were told that my grandson is being sent to Konoha to complete his shinobi training. However, that is not the entire story. I am going to tell you a secret that should never reach anyone else's ears, even your Hokage. Kakashi nodded at the statement. Silence. It took a few minutes until the fire daimyo broke the silence. He is also being to Konoha to learn how to wield his Sharingan. This is a secret of the royal family, and you must swear to never reveal anything until the Chunin exams. You must protect him from those who wish to harm him. Do you accept your new responsibility? Kakashi on the other hand was stunned to hear that the young prince wielded a power that only those of the Uchiha clan possess. He was then broke out of his thoughts when the fire daimyo also told him that he will be helping the crown prince with his Sharingan alongside Itachi Uchiha. Itachi was already informed of his role, the daimyo already sent a letter to the Uchiha clan head informing him of Itachi being the private tutor of the young prince. Kakashi was about to leave when the fire daimyo also told him a little detail. I must also tell you that when his Sharingan is activated his features will start to change, do not be surprised when you see it. But you would know it when you see it yourself. Kakashi left and joined up with his comrades. Hey Kakashi, were you told of your task? Asked Itachi in a monotone voice. Yeah, the prince is a surprising person. What are you holding? Oh, it's a snack. Princess Mika gave all of the anbu and samurai snacks to eat on the way. She made it herself and I didn't want to look bad so I accepted. I was about to say something when the crown prince came in with Princess Mika. She saw me and quickly ran and gave me a snack. Kakashi-san, you're surprisingly early, you took my threat into consideration. Good. We are now leaving. Let's go. Goodbye Mika, I will miss you. Princess Mika was crying so hard while waving farewell to her brother uncle. The royal carriage finally left the capital, followed by a wave of attendants, servants, and guards. 4 hours later, the ride to Konoha was quiet, but the impatient prince just had to ruin it with his nagging. Are we there yet? The attendants told the prince for the 100th time that they were almost there. He had to be patient. Kakashi was reading his Icha book when he felt multiple chakra signatures up ahead. He quickly signaled the anbu and the samurai guards. They sprang to action and were met with a group of bandits with a few missing nins. The peaceful forest was bloodied from trunk to treetop. The attendants were in a disarray, others were fleeing with their lives, while the others risked their lives to protect the crown prince. Swords and kunai clanging together filled the once peaceful forest. The bandits fought well, but they were still no match for the anbu and samurais combined. In the midst of battle, Akihito came out to help the skirmish. He activated his Sharingan and looked at the bandits, he attacked them. Kakashi felt a new chakra entering the battle, he looked around and saw a dark-haired individual who looked eerily like an Uchiha fighting the bandits. He saw his Sharingan activated and were surprised to see that they already had 3 tomos. He must have gone through a lot of pain to achieve those eyes, he thought. He looked away from the individual and focused back on the battle. Earth style. Mud wall. It took an hour to eliminate the enemy, some were spared for interrogation. They continued on their way. Akihito returned to the carriage, his Sharingan form disappeared and he returned to his normal appearance with the mask still on. They continued on their way to Konoha, the fleeing attendants were returned and told that they will be dealt with when they arrived at Konoha. At this moment, Kakashi and the other anbus were thinking the same thing. What did the prince go through to get those eyes? They just how he ruthlessly killed those bandits without a second thought, it means he must gone through a lot of pain. Arrival in the leaf. After hours of traveling they finally arrived in Konohagakure no Sado. The strongest of the 5 great villages. The royal entourage arrived at the front gates, only to be greeted with the sight of 2 sleeping Chunins. These were the eternal Chunins of Konoha, Izumo and Katetsu. Kakashi sweat drop at the two's behavior and went to wake them up. The two were startled and immediately looked around and saw the royal entourage. They quickly informed the Hokage and welcomed the royal entourage inside. Upon entering, the royal entourage was treated with the sight of Konoha, its tall buildings indicating its advance in technology, and let's not forget its lush forests, made personally by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, also tells how abundant the vegetation in Konoha is. Hoping to catch a glimpse of the air of the lands of fire and whirlpool, shinobi and civilian alike gathered on the streets. The Uchiha police force quickly arrived to subdue the excited people. Akihito surely didn't expect this, he took a peek outside his carriage and saw people happily waving at him. He looked around and saw that Konoha was decorated with flags of the leaf, fire, and the whirlpool. Each one were very detailed. The flag with the leaf symbol was green with black linings, the flag with the fire symbol was maroon with gold linings, and finally the flag with the whirlpool symbol was blue with white linings. They surely decorate well. The carriage came to a sudden stop. An attendant came to tell him that they have arrived at the Hokage Tower. He looked outside and saw the Hokage, his advisors, and the rest of the shinobi council. Hokage Jiji still hasn't changed a bit, I can see he still smokes that pipe of his. He came out of the carriage and this made the people cheer much more louder. He waved at the people and made his way towards the Hokage. When he finally made it, the Hokage and everyone else followed royal protocol. They bowed at a 90-degree angle and said in unison, "Welcome to the leaf, your royal highness." He nodded and told them to stand up. "Hokage Jiji, you smoke too much. You need to cut it down or you'll end up in the hospital." The Hokage froze when he heard those words. Then a memory played on his mind. Flashback, he was in his office smoking his pipe and doing some Kamaforsakan paperwork when the door to his office were thrown open and in came a blonde young boy laughing while he was being chased by the secretary. He quickly dismissed the secretary and asked the blonde boy what he was doing here. "Well, Hokage Jiji, I can explain. I was bored," said the blonde. He raised an eyebrow at this and told the boy to come sit on his lap. The blonde did as he was told. Then asked again. "Why are you here, Naruto?" He said. "Looks like you caught me. I came here because the villagers came after me again and the Anbu you assigned just turned a blind eye. Why do they do this to me, Jiji? What have I done wrong? All I ever wanted was a family, but no one could ever give that to me because they saw as a reminder of what happened that fateful night," said the now crying Naruto. The Hokage was heartbroken to see such a sight. So he told Naruto not to worry, that in time the villagers' hatred will suffice and he will be equally treated with the rest of the people. He also encouraged him to always put on a smile even when times are tough because a smile can brighten anyone's day. Naruto took what his Hokage Jiji said to heart. He stood up and promised that he will protect and defend his most precious people even if they don't acknowledge him. He turned to leave but then looked back. "By the way, Hokage Jiji, you smoke too much. You need to cut it down or you'll end up in the hospital." He then turned to the door and left. The Hokage was so proud when he heard what Naruto said, a smile appeared on his face. And he continued to finish his paperwork. Flashback end. The Hokage stillness was noticed by the advisors. So Hamura asked if everything was okay. He was quite shaken by what the prince said. So he just ignored that unsettling feeling in his stomach and escorted the crown prince inside the council room. When they entered the council room, every council member went to their designated clan seats. The prince sat at the head of the table. The Hokage then introduced every single council member and the prince acknowledged every single one of them. Then the council meeting proceeded. The Hokage told the prince that after the council meeting, they will be headed to the Hyuga compound for the welcoming celebration. When the prince heard this, he was quite surprised. He suddenly asked the Hokage why it was being held at the Hyuga compound. The Hokage then told him that it was a way for him to get to know his bride-to-be. The poor prince knew exactly what was going to happen at that welcoming celebration. That ceremony is going to be more of a funeral than a welcoming celebration, he thought. He made a mental note to invite some performers. The council meeting continued for another 30 minutes. When it was finished, the prince was escorted to the royal estate belonging to the Uzumaki clan. He went inside to prepare for the celebration that begins at 6 p.m. He then thinks of seeing Hinata. He smiles at the memory of her always fainting and blushing when she sees him. He went inside his room and took a little rest. Celebrating with the Hyugas. Hokage, POV. I was in my office drinking my tea while replaying in my mind what the prince said. "Hokage Jiji, you smoke too much. You need to cut it down or you'll end up in the hospital." The prince said exactly what Naruto said that day. Could it be possible that the prince is Naruto? Now that I think of it, Naruto disappeared around the time the crown prince was found. Could it be a coincidence? It's still too early to tell. I need to observe the prince carefully. I need to investigate this matter thoroughly. "Lord Hokage, it's time for the celebration," said my secretary. I nodded and went to the Hyuga clan compound. Hyuga clan compound. Many clan heads and shinobi were invited to the celebration held at the Hyuga compound. Many marveled at how the Hyuga clan compound held the aura of authority and sophistication that they always carried. Many thought the clan compound would be boring, seeing as how the Hyuga always wear plain clothing. But they were wrong, the compound was magnificent. Many of the guests were there for one reason, and that was to see the young prince. Many were waiting for the arrival of the Hyuga's special guest, but one certain girl wasn't. In her room she was crying her eyes out. How could Tusama do this to me? He knows I love Naruto. She stayed like this until her father came to her room. Hinata, stop crying. You are no longer a child, he said harshly. But father, I don't want to marry the crown prince. Hinata, this is for your own good, now stop crying and get ready. I expect you to be there and don't you dare humiliate our clan out there. He then left the room, leaving the now identified Hinata. Hinata wiped away her tears and started to get ready for the celebration. The people were having conversations with each other when an attendant announced the arrival of the prince. Announcing the arrival of His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Akihito, heir to the thrones of the lands of fire and whirlpool. After the announcement the prince came in, everyone instantly bowed down. You all may rise, said the prince. Everyone looked up to see the prince and were all entranced. The prince was wearing clothes and a cape made entirely out of white. Image above. He was simply perfect, but they wished they could see his face. The celebration continued, people tried to mingle with the young prince, but he didn't even bother to answer to their stories or questions. He just continued talking to the Hokage and the Hyuga clan head. So Hiashi-san, is it true that your Byakugan can't see through anything? The prince said. It is true, your highness, said Hiashi. Your highness, I heard that you were the son of the fire daimyo's long-lost son. If I may be so bold, where did he find you? Asked the Hokage. The prince dropped the drink he was holding and almost everyone looked at them. The Hokage knew this was a sensitive matter for the crown prince, so he apologized for asking such a rude question. He then asked Hiashi if they had any entertainment for the night. Hiashi shook his head. Hiashi-san, please don't be upset, but I invited some musicians from the capital, said Akihito. Hiashi was surprised that the prince invited musicians. But then again, maybe he heard about the Hyuga being strict individuals. He then said that it was no problem. The prince then told one of the attendants to get the performers. While the attendant was going to get the musicians, Hinata finally walked inside the room. Everyone inside was stunned to see her. She was simply beautiful, she was like a goddess who descended from the heavens. She was wearing a white and blue kimono with snow patterns. She walked towards her father and greeted him, then turned to greet the prince and the Hokage. I apologize for being late, father, she said. Our dear prince almost fainted from hearing her soft melodic voice. Akihito POV. I finally saw her, the love of my life. She was elegant. No, scratch that, she is angelically beautiful. I was so busy admiring her that I didn't notice the attendant tell me that the musicians have arrived and that the show was about to begin. Your highness, the musicians have arrived and they are ready to perform. I snapped out of my thoughts and nodded to the attendant. I asked Hinata if she could accompany me to my seat. Hinata was surprised, but she still took my hand. We made our way towards our table. I saw everyone making their way towards their tables. When everyone was sitting at their tables, I ordered the attendants to begin the performance. While the performance went on, I took a quick look at Hinata. She was smiling and OMG, she was beautiful. I didn't even pay attention to the performance, my entire attention was put solely on Hinata's beautiful face. While I was looking at Hinata, I didn't know that someone was looking at me. Hiashi POV. While the performance went on, I had the strangest feeling that I need to look at my daughter and that prince. When I looked, I instantly regretted it. I saw the prince looking weirdly at Hinata. So many thoughts went on in my head. One of them is he thinking perverted thoughts about my innocent daughter? I glared so hard I didn't realize that I have activated my Byakugan. Many people noticed this and tried to calm me down, but I wasn't having that. The prince must have felt something wrong because he looked straight at me. He then looked a little afraid. Ha, that's right, little prince, fear your soon-to-be father-in-law, because I will make you suffer if you touch my daughter in any inappropriate way, without her consent. The prince looked away from gaze and began to watch the musical performance. When I was sure that he wouldn't look back at Hinata, I looked back to enjoy the musical performance. Nobody's POV. When the musical performance finished, everybody clapped at the wonderful performance. Everyone then began talking to each other again. This went on for another 45 minutes, then Hiashi announced that the celebrations were over. Everyone was crestfallen because they still wanted to celebrate, but they know they had to get out, knowing it's the Hyugas. Everyone started to make their way out, leaving Akihito and Hinata alone. Lady Hinata, I had a wonderful night over here at your home. I'd like to extend an invitation to you, will you like to go on date with me tomorrow? When Hinata heard the prince said this, she blushed and agreed. Meanwhile, Hiashi and the Hokage was watching this from the slightly open door to the hallways. Hiashi was fuming, was this prince trying to get his pure innocent daughter into bed? While Hiashi was fuming, the Hokage was enjoying watching Hiashi's expression. I mean the Hokage and everyone in Konoha knew that Hiashi mistreated his eldest daughter. But to see this man acting all overprotective all of a sudden was funny to watch. Akihito and Hinata made their farewells and went on their way. While heading out, Akihito had this uneasy feeling. He felt like something bad was going to happen, so he looked around and saw someone standing behind the half-open door heading to the hallways. When he took a closer look he saw that it was Hiashi Hyuga standing there. When Hiashi saw the prince looking at him he flashed the prince a smile. Akihito felt something wrong with Hiashi's smile, it was a smile, but he felt a sinister meaning behind it. He felt a shiver go through his spine. He quickly turned around and headed towards his carriage and went home. When the prince left, Hiashi bid farewell to the Hokage and went to have serious talk with Hinata about the bees and the honey. Konoha Academy. Graduation exams. After the interesting situation at the Hyuga clan compound, the day for the graduation exams finally arrived. All the students were anxiously waiting for the arrival of the crown prince. Hey, I heard the crown prince is becoming a shinobi. Really? A royal is trying to become a shinobi. I don't he will succeed, the life of a shinobi is difficult, he surely can't handle that. Whatever I heard he's handsome, a girl dreamily said. After she said this the royal carriage strolled through the academy gates. Everyone was waiting for the crown prince to come out. Minutes passed and he finally came outside. When he did all the students and senseis bowed down. When the prince told them to rise, the students finally looked up. They marveled at how attractive he looked. The prince had a muscular frame and his blonde hair was neatly done and his most attractive features were his eyes. His eyes were a striking cerulean blue, his clothes showed an authoritative aura fit for a prince. But they wished they could see his face from behind the mask. His clothes, Akihito POV. I can surely tell that something in the academy has changed. I heard that Hokage Jiji had disbanded the civilian council. Good riddance to those bakas. I made my way towards the academy entrance when a Chunin sensei came up to me and said that he will guide me to my graduating class. I followed him and on the way he told me how the academy was reorganized since the disbandment of the civilian council. We arrived in front of a class and told me to go inside. When I was inside, the students and sensei all bowed down and after I told them to rise, I finally saw who the sensei was, it was Iruka. I remembered Iruka sensei, he was one of those senseis that hated me, but then saw me as an orphan who did nothing wrong, so he began to teach me equally with the other students. Without the hate and malice, of course. Welcome to the graduating class, Your Royal Highness. Allow me to introduce myself, I am Chunin Iruka Yamino. Would you like to introduce yourself to the class? I nodded and looked towards the class. Greetings, as you all know I am Crown Prince Akihito Uzumaki Shinji, heir to the thrones of the lands of fire and whirlpool. I hope we all get along and please call me Akihito. Without the royal titles please. After I was finished Iruka sensei ushered me to a seat next to Sasuke team. I went and sat next to him, he didn't look bothered by this at all. Iruka sensei then began to tell us about the exams. First will be the written test. Second will be a fight between two individuals, the winner will continue on to the last parts of the exams. Third, kunai and shuriken throwing. Finally, we'll be displaying an B, A, or S rank jutsu. After Iruka sensei's long speech and wishing us the bestest of luck, he finally handed out the written test. I looked at the written test and scoffed, this is too easy. Written test. 1. What kake did the first Hokage possess? 2. Name all the Hokages and tell why they were so famous. 3. Did the second Hokage marry and have children? True or false? 4. The first Hokage's wife, the Lady Mito, was a very powerful woman. Which clan did she originate from? 5. During the time of the first Hokage, Konoha and Uzushi Agakure have a very special alliance. Who was the Whirlpool daimyo that made the alliance with the first Hokage? 6. After the fall of Yuzu no Kuni the royal family of Yuzu was thought to have been killed off, but young girl was escorted here to Konoha before the invasions, she was the last of the royals of Yuzu. Who was she? 7. What did the royal family of Yuzu specialize in? 8. Name all the 5 great shinobi villages and name their leaders. 9. What are the geographic advantages of each of the 5 great shinobi villages? 10. Bonus. Why do you want to become a shinobi? After 30 minutes all the students finished their tests and turned it in. A few minutes later, Iruka came with the results, he then called out the students who failed in the written exams, the students were mostly civilians. After the rest of the failing student left the second part of the exams were next. The remaining students went outside onto the courtyard, the fight was just about to begin. First match. Rina Makiyako vs civilian boy. The match won in Rina injuring the boy. Second match. Sakura Haruno vs civilian girl, the match ended in Sakura knocking out the girl. Third match. Shikamaru Nara vs Choji Akimichi, it ended in a draw, they didn't want to fight. Fourth match. Ino Yamanaka vs Hinata Hyuga, it also ends in a draw, they fought equally. Fifth match. Civilian girl vs civilian girl 1-1, she is Renko. Sixth match. Kiba Inuzuka vs Kinwei. Kiba barely won, but he still won. 7th match. Shino Aburam vs Shinrui. Shino won by making Shin disgusted with his bugs. Final match. Akihito Uzumaki Shinji vs Sasuke Uchiha. It also ended in a draw. After the matches ended and the other competitors were eliminated, they finally went through the final part of the exams, showing a B, A, or S rank jutsus. All of the others passed, except for Rina. Her jutsu exploded in her face, hospitalizing her. After the final exams were over, the other were given their hit or headbands. Everyone quickly left except for Hinata and Akihito. "Hinata-chan, please wait," said Akihito. Hinata stopped walking and looked at Akihito. "I promised that after the exams I will go with you on a date, so what your answer, would you go with me?" Hinata thought for a moment, then she accepted the offer. I then invited her to go with me to a restaurant I had reserved just for us. On our way to the restaurant I asked Hinata what she liked. She told me all sorts of things about her life and what she personally loved. We finally arrived at the restaurant and went inside. We ordered our meals and continued to talk about our interest and lives. Our food finally arrived and we ate while continuing our conversation, while Hinata was talking about the main and branch families her clan was divided into. I had the urge to look outside the window behind Hinata. When I finally looked out, I saw Hiashi standing outside with a dark aura surrounding him, and he was holding a kunai and scraping the window with it. I ended up finishing our date early because of Hiashi's unusual behavior. We left the restaurant and headed towards the carriage. The ride to her clan compound was mostly quiet. When we finally arrived, we saw Hiashi waiting outside the clan gates with a few of his guards. We finally arrived in front of her father. I helped escort her outside, but not without kissing her cheek and asking her for another date. When she was finally outside, she greeted her father and went inside her home, leaving Hiashi outside. Hiashi then turned to face me and said, "If you touch my daughter, I will 8 trigram 64 pound you back to Kyoto." I nodded at his statement and he turned around and went inside. I was scared at his warning, but I just couldn't stop thinking of her. She was just right. I wonder what tomorrow will hold. Special chapter. After the welcoming celebration at the Hyuga clan compound. After the celebration, the Hokage was walking back to the Hokage tower to finish some paperwork. When he finally arrived, he called for 2 of his Anbu agents. They came at his orders. "Anther and Possum, I have a special task I need you two to do. I need you two to investigate the crown prince, secretly. No one is supposed to know of this. If you find any significant detail, inform me of it." After giving their orders, the 2 Anbu agents quickly disappeared, leaving the old Hokage with his thoughts. I wonder what they will find about our mysterious crown prince. Hyuga clan compound. Hinata's room. After bidding his farewell to the Hokage, Hiashi went to his daughter's room. Meanwhile, Hinata was finished taking of her kimono and was about to put her nightgown when her bedroom door burst open, revealing a livid Hiashi with his Byakugan activated. Before he could say anything, Hinata screamed, "Ahhhhh, my father is a pervert, guards help me." Hiashi was confused, but then he started to notice that Hinata wasn't wearing anything except her bra and undies. He then blushed and went outside to wait until Hinata finished putting on her clothes. While waiting, the Hyuga patrol unit arrived to take out an intruder because they heard Lady Hinata yelling out, "A pervert." Hiashi's eyes widened until he told them that it was nothing and quickly dismissed them. Hinata finally finished putting on her nightgown and called her father in. Hiashi came inside without his Byakugan activated and sat down at the table. "Hinata, we need to talk about your relationship with that prince." Hinata nodded. "Hinata, if he touches you inappropriately, just tell me and I will cancel the marriage agreement. I don't want a son-in-law who's a pervert." Hinata was surprised. "Father, don't worry. The prince seems to be a polite young man. I will give him a chance. If he's good enough, I will consider this marriage. If not, I will be more than willing to break off the marriage agreement." The Ashi nodded, quickly left Hinata's room and went to his office. When he got there, 2 Hyuga elders were already waiting for him. "Hiashi, we heard that you went to your daughter's room. And when you got there you activated your Byakugan while she was undressed," said Hyuga Elder 1. "Indeed. You not only broke clan laws of activating your Byakugan inside the clan compound, but you invaded your daughter's personal space." "I understand, honorable elders, however I only went there to talk to my daughter about the prince." "We understand, but if word got out that you entered your daughter's bedroom while she was undressed, it will be a scandal that sully our clan's reputation." "I understand, that is why I took the precaution of silencing the branch members who heard by threatening them with the seal." The elders nodded and they left, leaving Hiashi with his thoughts. Unknown POV. I was standing outside my balcony overlooking Kyoto. The city was bustling with busy people going on with their lives. "But that will all change soon enough. Your Highness, all the troops are ready." "When will we attack?" said a commander. "We won't attack now, we will wait for the fire festival to launch our assault. After that we can overthrow the fire daimyo. Then I will be the new fire daimyo." "I understand, but what about the crown prince?" "I have already sent assassins to deal with the crown prince, with him out of the way. I will finally claim my right place as ruler of the land of fire. Team placement. After the graduation exams were over, the Hokage and all the Jounin senseis gathered at the Hokage Tower. The graduation exams are over and the graduating students are ready. Since the reorganization of the Ninja Academy, the students have been showing promise. I have a new way of placing teams. They will be divided in the areas they specialize in. Now listen up, Kakashi will be heading the diplomatic team. Your team is responsible for escorting people to their destination. Your team members are consistent of Crown Prince Akihito Shinji, Sasuke Uchiha, and Sakura Haruno. Asuma will be heading the tactical team. Your team is responsible for laying out battle strategy and ideas. Your team members are consistent of Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, and Choji Yamanaka. Kurenai will be heading the tracking team. Your team is responsible for tracking and hunting down missing nin or helping locate missing objects or things. Your team members are consistent of Shino Aburam, Hinata Hyuga, and Kiba Inuzuka. You have now heard your teams, be ready. Dismissed. Said the Hokage. As all the Jounin flocked towards the exit, Kakashi chose to remain, which surprised the Hokage. Kakashi, is there something wrong? Asked the Hokage. Lord Hokage, I wish to talk to you about an urgent matter privately. The Hokage signaled for his Anbu to leave. After the Anbu left, Kakashi turned to the Hokage. Lord Hokage, there is something familiar about the Crown Prince, but I can't seem to place my finger on it. The Hokage agreed to this. I agree, the prince brings a familiar feeling that I haven't felt in a very long time. What type of feeling, Lord Hokage? The feeling he brings is the feeling of happiness, relief, and joy. The same feeling that Naruto always brings. After saying this, the Hokage looked at the picture he and Naruto took when Naruto was just 5 years old. But don't worry, Kakashi, I also felt something familiar about the prince. Which is why I have done a secret investigation on him. I want you to tell me what the prince does and what he says. Kakashi nodded at this, left the Hokage's office quickly. When Kakashi left, the Hokage returned to reading his Icha book. Next day, at the academy, everyone was waiting patiently for Iruka to announce the teams. Most were eating their nails and looking at the clock, while the others just waited patiently. After what felt like an eternity, Iruka finally walked inside. Okay students, I know that you have been waiting for a long time for your teams, so here they are. The diplomatic team are Akihito Shinji, Sasuke Uchiha, and Sakura Haruno. Your sensei is Kakashi Haddock. The tactical team are Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, and Choji Akimichi. Your sensei is Asuma Sarutobi. Finally, the tracking team are Shino Aburam, Hinata Hyuga, and Kiba Inuzuka. Your sensei is Kurenai Yuhi. That is all, now wait for sensei to come pick you brats up. Sweet, I get to be with Hinata-chan. Kiba said. When Akihito heard this, he was livid. He forgot that Kiba also has a crush on Hinata. Hey dog breath, she's my fiancé. So stay away from her. Kiba looked at Akihito with a smirk on his face. Why? Scared that I'll steal her away from you? Why you little? I am here for the tracking team. Akihito looked at the door and saw a very beautiful woman with red ruby eyes. The members of the tracking team stood up and went to their sensei. Hinata-chan, I was hoping if you'd like to have dinner with me at my family estate, asked Akihito. Hinata thought for a moment. I'll accept if all of classmates are invited. Akihito asked, only the graduated ones. At this, Hinata nodded. Akihito was kinda sad that he wouldn't have a private dinner with Hinata, but at least she's there, what's the harm in that? After Kurenai and her team left, Akihito quickly summoned an attendant and told him to prepare a dinner party with all of Hinata's favorite dishes. A few minutes later, Asuma came to get his team. Leaving only the diplomatic team to wait for the overly late sensei. So Akihito-san, what's it like living in the royal palace? Asked Sakura. Do you really want to know? I asked. Sakura nodded at this. Akihito was trying to think of how to answer Sakura's question without sounding sarcastic. Well, it's mostly boring. But it's kinda fun if you have servants who answer to your every whims and needs. Sakura had stars in her eyes when she heard Akihito talking about palace life. It sounds like a dream come true for her. After hours of Sakura questioning Akihito about his personal life, Kakashi finally arrived. Yo, sorry I'm late, but Before Kakashi could finish his explanation, Akihito put him to it. Save your pathetic excuse for someone who believes. You're 2 hours late, I think you forgot what I told you about your little perverted books. Kakashi gulped and nervously laughed. Well, my little students seem to be very grumpy. Kakashi looked at the faces of his students and sweat dropped. This is going to be a very long year. Training Ground 7. After getting his students from their classroom, Kakashi took them to Training Ground 7 to introduce themselves to each other. So listen up, to get to know each other better you are going to introduce yourself, said Kakashi. Akihito, Sasuke, and Sakura looked at each other. But sensei, how are we going to introduce ourselves? Asked Sakura. Kakashi looked at Sakura as if she was stupid. Is she kidding me right now? Apparently not. The look in her eyes tell otherwise. I can't believe she was Kenwaichi of the year. Okay, I am Kakashi Haddock, sensei of the diplomatic team. My likes, dislikes, and dreams are none of your business. Now your turn, broody boy. Akihito and Sakura turned to Sasuke, who was glaring daggers at Kakashi, who doesn't seem to care. He then did the famous Uchiha HN. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, I come from the prestigious Uchiha clan. I like my clan Judas, tomatoes, my family, and power. I dislike idiots, unworthy shinobi, and pathetic people. My dream is to surpass Itachi, my elder brother. Sasuke's voice was monotone from the beginning of his introduction, but took a menacing tone when he mentioned his dream. Everyone looked at Sasuke with a judgmental look. Okay, that was nice. Now Pinky, at your turn, said Kakashi, trying to lighten up the mood. Sakura turned towards everyone. Hi, my name is Sakura Haruno, I am from a civilian clan. I like medical ninjas and a certain someone blushed. I dislike rapists, perverts, pedophiles, people who don't take their jobs seriously, and idiots. My dream is to be the greatest medical kunoichi like Tsunade-sama. That's a nice dream, Sakura, maybe one day you will surpass Tsunade-sama, said Kakashi. He then turned to Akihito and told him that it was his turn. I am Akihito Shinji, I am a descendant of the Shinji and Uzumaki royal families, but I am also related to one of the founding clans of Konoha, the Senju clan. I like ramen, my grandfather, Little Mika, Hinata Haim, Ken, Nin, and few injustice. I also like Hokage-san. I dislike arrogant people, rapists, perverts, missing nins, traitors, cowards, and those who disregard innocent lives. My dream is to bring peace in this corrupt and dangerous world. Kakashi raised an eyebrow when Akihito mentioned that he liked the Hokage. Akihito, why do you like the Hokage? He brings that grandfatherly feeling that I feel when I'm with my grandfather, answered Akihito. Kakashi considered telling the Hokage this when he remembered what his dream was. And why do you want to bring peace in this world? Akihito looked at Kakashi for a moment before answering, so that people can live a peaceful life. Free of worry and fear. I wish to establish a peaceful rule so that the future generation doesn't have to go through what we and past shinobi had to go through. Kakashi was gobsmacked at what the young prince wished to accomplish. If he establishes that peace he dreamed so much. People will no longer have to fight and they can finally live peacefully. Kakashi smiled at what his students wished to accomplish. Those were very extraordinary dreams, but I guess I will see if those will come true tomorrow. Suddenly everyone's eyes were on Kakashi. But I thought we already became genin, said Sakura. Kakashi looked at her and shook his head. No, that was a simple test. The real genin tests begins tomorrow. If you wish to pass, I suggest you don't eat anything or you will vomit. Kakashi was about to leave when he suddenly remembered something. Oh, and remember this rule: those who disobey orders are trash, but those who abandon friends and comrades are worse than scum. And with that Kakashi turned and sunshined away. When Kakashi left, Akihito turned to his new teammates and asked if they wanted to come and have dinner with him at his estate. Sakura agreed with no hesitation, and they both turned to Sasuke, who was looking blankly at them. When Sasuke saw that his teammates wouldn't leave him alone, he also agreed. Akihito then told them that the dinner party was at 6:30 p.m. They left and returned to their homes. Uchiha clan compound. When Sasuke returned home, his parents were already waiting for him. They asked him how his day was, and he replied that it was fine, like every other day. Sasuke, I heard that you are teammates with the crown prince, asked Fugaku. Sasuke turned to his father and nodded. I want you to befriend the crown prince, said Fugaku. Why should I do that, father? Sasuke said sarcastically. Fugaku noted Sasuke's sarcastic remark and paid no mind to it. Just do what you're told, our clan needs some powerful allies in case something happens. Sasuke looked suspiciously at his father and then turned to leave. Oh, I almost forgot, I was invited by the prince to dine with him at his estate. What should I do, father? Fugaku praised this good opportunity. Sasuke, go to the estate and try to befriend the prince. Make sure he doesn't find your actions suspicious. Sasuke scoffed at his father's words. He only cares about power, why doesn't he care about me too? Sasuke clenched his fists and left to the Uchiha clan's personal training grounds UCPTG. The royal Uzumaki estate. When Akihito arrived home, he quickly went to the gardens to pick some flowers for Hinata. After he found the flowers, he went to his office. Your Highness, the food are almost ready for the dinner party tonight, said an attendant Jang. Akihito nodded and smiled at this. And how about the pool and theater? They are all ready, Your Highness. Excellent, Hinata Haim is so gonna love this. Are there extra snacks? Attendant Jang nodded and added that the games are also ready. Akihito was overly excited about tonight's dinner party. Dinner with royalty. Hyuga clan compound. Kusama, I will be fine. It's not like the prince is going to eat me, all of our classmates are invited, so I am not going to be alone. The Ashi was still adamant about Hinata going. He had a bad feeling that the dinner is not going to end good. After Hinata dressed in a presentable kimono, she bid farewell to her father and little sister, Hanabi. She went outside the clan compound and was met with the royal carriage waiting for her. When she went inside, she was greeted by Sakura, Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino. No one's POV. Hey Hinata, excited about the dinner, asked Ino. Hinata nodded and looked outside. While she looked outside she thought about the prince. The prince seems to be great person, but my heart only belongs to Naruto. My lords and ladies, is there anyone missing, asked the coachman. Yes, Sasuke and Kiba, replied Sakura. And don't forget about Shino, reminded Ino. The coachman nodded and headed towards the Inuzuka compound first. When he arrived Kiba was already standing in front of his clan compound with an annoyed face. Hey dude, I have been standing here for 30 minutes, where have you been? Asked Kiba while getting inside the carriage. The coachman muttered an apology and left for the Aburam clan compound. The ride to the Aburam clan compound was mostly quiet, well, except for Kiba who was trying to flirt with Hinata. Hinata seems to not be paying attention to anything Kiba was saying. She looks lost in her own little world. Shikamaru was taking a little nap while Choji was drooling at imagining what delicious food were at the dinner party. Ino and Sakura, well, they were busy glaring at each other. If you look a little closely you will see electricity being shoot outside of their eyes, being directed at each other. All of them were so busy with their own thing that they didn't notice that Shino was already inside the carriage. Have you guys ever been to the royal district? Asked Shino in his usual monotone voice. Everyone except for Shikamaru let out a surprised shriek. They then looked at the source of the voice. Shino, how long have you been sitting over there? Asked a surprised Kiba. Long enough to hear you trying to ask Hinata out when she is clearly engaged to the crown prince. Everyone's sweat dropped and Shino asked again, have you guys ever been to the royal district? Everyone shook their heads no. I have never been there, but I hear that it's really beautiful. The royal district is filled with royal estates, said Sakura. Everyone nodded their heads seemingly impressed with what they heard. And Shikamaru added, it also houses many servants and samurai who clean, care, and protect the estates. After a few minutes of learning new things about the royal district, for example, entry to the royal district is prohibited from the public, only royalty is allowed. They finally arrived at the Uchiha clan compound. Inside the Uchiha compound, they waited for Sasuke to come inside. Meanwhile Sasuke looked at his father who was glaring at him, he looked away and got inside the carriage. The ride to the royal district was now quiet when Sasuke came into the carriage. Everyone looked at him, he was glaring outside the windows and was surrounded by a dark aura. No one wanted to suffer from Sasuke's insults, so no one tried talking to him. After what felt like forever they finally arrived in front of the gates to the royal districts. The coachman gave an identification card to the security team and the security team let them pass as guests of the crown prince. Now everyone was waiting to see what was on the other side, even Shikamaru who was now fully awake. The gates opened and they were met with the majestic buildings that covered the vast lands of the royal districts. They stared with awe at the tall majestic building, even Sasuke who was in a sour mood was amazed but didn't show it. They passed estate after estate and finally arrived at one of the Uzumaki royal family's estate. The carriage stopped and they were met with many servants who were lining outside to greet them. They all came outside of the carriage, welcome to the royal estate, my lords and ladies, the servants said in unison. They were then escorted inside the estate, they were taken to the royal office where Akihito was anxiously waiting for them. Meanwhile with Akihito, Hinata is coming. I hope she likes the gift I'm going to give her. I gone over every fun activity we were doing, I looked at the schedules and nodded. This party is going to be the party of the century. The doors to the office finally opened and in walked everyone single one of my classmates. I am so happy you guys are here, I said in an overly excited voice. Everyone looked at me amusingly. I then dismissed attendant Jang and told them to sit down on the sofas. When they all sat down I went through the schedule of many of the activities. Schedule 1. A tour of the estate. 2. Games. Hide and seek classic, catch the runaway cat, moving targets, etc. 3. Theater. War of the Daimyo. Whirlpool and fire 1 hour 45 minutes. 4. A dip in the pool. 1 hour 30 minutes. 5. Dinner. After telling the schedule to everyone, I told them the rules of the estate. Rule 1. Don't touch anything. Rule 2. Don't wander around without assistance, accompany from the servants or attendants. Finally, Rule 3. Never go to the rooms on the eastern side. Okay, let's get this party on the road. No one's POV. We first went for a tour of the estate. On our way they were introduced to some members of the Uzumaki royal family. Hey Akihito, who is this beautiful woman? Asked Ino while admiring the woman on the portrait. I looked at the portrait and smiled. She is Princess Lihua Uzumaki, the daughter of Whirlpool Daimyo Jinmu and Lady Akane of the royal family of the Land of Lightning. The portrait next to hers is her overprotective brother, Whirlpool Daimyo Haruto Uzumaki. Untold, Sakura widens her eyes in realization. You mean she is Princess Lihua, the princess that was killed by Fire Daimyo Akito Shinji? I looked at her and nodded. Actually, that's far from the truth. That was just a cover story for what actually happened. Then what actually happened? Asked a curious Shikamaru. The others also nodded, curious about what really happened. If you want to know we have to start from the beginning. The story you are about to hear is a story about romance, forbidden love, and tragedy. The story began at the coronation of Crown Prince Naruto as the new daimyo since the passing of his father. Everyone daimyo was invited, among the daimyos invited was fire daimyo Akito Shinji. Famous for his womanizing ways, Akito was quickly smitten by the beautiful and generous sister of the new Whirlpool daimyo. He asked for her hand in marriage but was flatly denied by Whirlpool daimyo Haruto. When he returned back to Kyoto he couldn't get his mind of her. Even with the many consorts, concubines and mistresses he could never get his mind off of her. Day by day his obsession over Princess Li Hua grew. This resulted in him hiring members of the Uchiha clan to kidnap her from Yuzu no Kuni. The Uchiha members caught Princess Li Hua and escaped from the security alarms of the Uzumaki clan by using their kamui. When she taken to Fire Daimyo Akito's chambers she was scared. Fire Daimyo Akito kept her locked inside his personal chambers where he can only admire her. He took care of the princess, just like how Daimyo Haruto has done. He was so obsessed over her that he didn't pay attention to any other woman, even his many consorts, etc. in the harem. 3 months after her kidnapping, Princess Li Hua was starting to fall in love with Akito, and the same can be said about him. One night, they finally made love under the many sakura trees that surrounded the imperial gardens. She ended up pregnant with his first children. At this everyone's eyes widened. You heard right, children, she was pregnant with twins. When told by the royal physician, Akito was ecstatic that he immediately sent word to Haruto. When Haruto got word that his sister was kidnapped by Akito he was mad, but that quickly disappeared when he was told his sister was pregnant with first niece-nephew, nephew-nephew, or niece-niece. But that happiness quickly disappeared. You see, Akito's former favorite concubine was jealous because of the love that Akito showed Li Hua. So she poisoned Li Hua with a poison that makes even those with Uzumaki blood vulnerable. When Li Hua was poisoned she lost her other child which was a girl, and the other survived which was a boy. She was devastated at the loss of one her children that she died right after giving birth to a healthy baby boy, the future fire daimyo Hikaru. Akito was devastated at the death of his beloved, but none took it harder than her brother. When Haruto got word that his sister was dead he went blind with rage. His beloved sister was dead. Due to a misunderstanding, Haruto blamed Akito for the death of his sister, and this resulted in the War of the Daimyos. This war lasted for over 500 years until it was declared over when Whirlpool Daimyo Daisuke Uzumaki and Fire Daimyo Minamoto Shinji decided to put the past behind them and renewed their alliance. The story ends there. When I looked back to my friends they had tears in their eyes. They then began crying at how cruel it was for Li Hua. I nodded in understanding. Then is there a portrait of Fire Daimyo Akito Shinji and Fire Daimyo Hikaru, asked Hinata. I pointed to 2 portraits right next to Whirlpool Daimyo Haruto Uzumaki. They looked at the portraits and admired how handsome they looked. After admiring the portraits we continued on with the tour. After we finished the tour we played games. Ready or not here I come, said Shino. He sent out his bugs to find everyone. He first found Shikamaru sleeping beneath the sakura tree outside the gardens. He then continued to locate the others, one by one he found them all, leaving only Akihito and Sasuke left. He focused on the bugs he dispatched. A minute later his bugs found the chakra signature of Akihito and Naruto in the theater room. He and the others went there and found the Akihito and Sasuke glaring up at each other. I finally found the both of you, said Shino. They seemed to not have heard it as they still continued to glare at each other. Hinata cleared her throat and it still didn't work. Sakura was getting impatient and yelled, knock it off you two. They seemed to have heard as they broke up from their glare. What? They both yelled. Shikamaru shook his head in annoyance and asked Akihito if they can continue on with the schedule. Akihito nodded and told them that since they were in the theater room, they should watch the movie. They all watched the movie with teary eyes. This movie was based on the love story of Fire Daimyo Akito Shinji and the beloved Princess Li Hua Uzumaki. They now understood what caused the long war between the whirlpool and fire. After this they all went to take a dip in the pool. The boys were all shirtless and wearing only their shorts, while the girls were wearing bikinis showcasing their feminine bodies. Hinata-chan, you look sexy, said a grinning Kiba. Akihito glared at Kiba, hey pervert, enjoy the pool, or I am gonna kick you out. Kiba looked annoyed at Akihito for ruining his flirting with Hinata, but said nothing since he didn't want to leave yet. Hinata, who was swimming, swam next to Akihito and asked him why he and Sasuke were glaring at each other. That team demanded me to accept him as my friend, I said childishly. Hinata laughed at what Akihito said. She then remembered Naruto, who said exactly the same thing about Sasuke. She spoke with Akihito for a long time, then they were told by the attendant that dinner was ready. They all stood up from the pool and put on their robes provided while their clothes were being Febrezed. They all followed attendant Jang to the dining room. When they arrived, there on the table were numerous prepared food. They all sat at the dining table and began to eat. Akihito, I thank you for inviting us to your home, said Sakura. That's munch true, thank you munch Akihito, said Choji. Everyone else also thanked Akihito for the invitation. They then talked about their interests and hobbies. "Hinata Haim, I have something for you," I said. Hinata looked at Akihito and blushed when she heard the Haim part. "Haim princess." I signaled for attendant Jang to bring the gift. I turned to Hinata and gave the gift to her. "This is my gift for you, Hinata Haim. This gift signifies our engagement and my love for you." While I say this, I glance at Kiba with a smirk on my face. Kiba looks like he's ready to kill. "Ha, in your face, dog breath. You are not stealing her away from me." When Hinata opened her gift, she gasped in surprise. The bracelet was beautiful and looked pretty expensive. Hinata thanked Akihito for the gift and put next to her. Akihito noticed this and asked, "Hinata Haim, are you not going to wear it?" Hinata didn't want to hurt the prince's feelings, so she wore it. The dinner went on without a hitch. Outside the royal district, 5 individuals were standing at the edge of the forest of death. "Leader Sama, we have new orders from the prince. We have a change of plans. We will not strike tonight, we strike when the prince is on his first mission outside Konoha." The leader nodded his head and quickly left with his group of highly skilled assassins. Kakashi's test. A tale of teamwork. Morning. As the sun shines greatly on the horizon and as birds chirp lovingly in the air. A young man with bright blonde hair and with a mask that's similar to that of the copycat ninja runs quickly to training ground 7 with a lunchbox in hand. When he arrives, his teammates were already there waiting for him. "Hey guys, I hope I am not late," asked a very exhausted Akihito. Sakura and Sasuke just looked at him and shook their heads. "Actually, you are not late, Akihito. It's our sensei that's late," said a really pissed off Sakura. Akihito wasn't surprised when Sakura said that Kakashi was late again. He was really thinking of hunting down the perverted idiot that wrote the damn books to make sure that arrives on time. "Anyway, I brought some breakfast for all of us if you guys haven't had breakfast." Sakura and Sasuke looked at Akihito as if he was stupid or something. "Akihito, didn't you hear what Kakashi-sensei said yesterday? We can't eat or else we'll vomit," said Sakura. "That's where you're wrong, Sakura." Sakura was surprised when Akihito said that she was wrong. In her entire life, no one has said that she was wrong. Kakashi-sensei suggested we don't eat or else we'll vomit. But think hard on this, how do we get chakra? Sakura realized her mistake and looked down. She hasn't eaten yet and food helps make chakra in order for shinobi to fight. "But don't worry, I brought each of us breakfast and I haven't eaten yet." Sakura looked thankful while Sasuke was still brooding. "Thank you, Akihito." Akihito looked at Sasuke, who was looking at his egg sandwich with hungry eyes. "Hey broody, want some?" Sasuke just looked at him but then nodded. They all sat down and ate their breakfast, which consisted of steamed rice, miso soup, fermented soybeans, pickled vegetables, and seasoned dried seaweed. After they finished breakfast, they did some little warm-up in order to wait for Kakashi's arrival. 2 hours later, water style. Ice spears. Fire style. Great fireball jutsu. Sasuke and Akihito faced up against each other in order to test their jutsus. Sakura was watching from the sidelines with a grim look on her face. Sasuke and Akihito glared up at each other with hate. Before they can throw another jutsu, Kakashi finally arrived. "Hey, what I miss?" Sasuke and Akihito looked away from each other and focused their glare at Kakashi, who late yet again. Kakashi just laughed it away. "So you're all here, good. Now let's begin with the test. You see these 2 bells over here? I want you guys to get these bells from me. The 2 who get the bells will pass, but the one who doesn't will return to the academy. Show me everything you got." Sasuke and Sakura nodded their heads, determined to get the bells and pass. While Akihito was planning his next move swiftly and accurately, Kakashi began the exam as Sasuke and Sakura went into the forest followed by Kakashi. Akihito masked his chakra and hid behind a bush while examining Kakashi's movements. Sasuke was the first one to go and fight Kakashi. Sasuke with his usual arrogance blabbed on and on how only an uchiha can defeat an uchiha. Due to this, he charged right at Kakashi without thinking twice. Fire style. Great fireball jutsu. Kakashi just looked at his book and disappeared into thin air. "Huh, where'd he go?" said a surprised Sasuke. He looked around and around, but he still can't find Kakashi. Then he thought again. It was a substitution jutsu. So it's either up, left, right, or down. He looked down, and Kakashi popped up from the earth and knocked Sasuke out. Sasuke was out cold, and Kakashi formed a hole in the ground and threw Sasuke inside and sealed it with only his head popping out. Then Kakashi left to look for Sakura. Kakashi didn't have to look for long though, cause he found Sakura hunched over a treetop overlooking the entire training ground. Sakura's back was facing Kakashi, so she didn't see Kakashi. Kakashi teleported behind Sakura and casted a realistic-looking Jinjutsu over Sakura. Jinjutsu. Sakura, who was perching over the treetop, was out looking for her sensei and teammates. "I wonder, where are they?" After a few minutes of looking, she saw Sasuke walking out of the forest. She was about to go to him, but refrained from doing it when she saw he was all covered in blood. He hunched forward and vomited blood. She was about to help him when Kakashi appeared and cut his head off. Kakashi then disappeared. Sakura was terrified when she saw her crush decapitated in cold blood. She was so busy in her thoughts that she didn't notice Kakashi appear in front of her and also pierce her heart. She let out a loud shriek and looked at Kakashi with wide eyes. Kakashi leaned towards her and whispered in her ear, "Now you may join your beloved in the afterlife, this is what weak links get." Sakura dropped down and lay dead. Genjutsu end. When Kakashi saw Sakura faint when she supposedly died. He shook his head in disappointment, and she was supposed to be Kunoichi of the year, she can't even handle a D-rank Genjutsu. Oh well, I need to look for that prince now. When Kakashi left, Akihito, who was observing Kakashi's every move, finally came out of his little hiding spot. From what he observed of Kakashi's every movement, he came up with a solution that he alone can't take Kakashi on. So he needs help, his teammates can do the trick. Wait, how can I forget, Kakashi's last words when he left yesterday were that those who don't follow orders are trash, but those who abandon comrades are worse than scum. It's a test, he knows that we can't take him on alone, so he's testing us. If we can work as a team we can hopefully beat him and take the bells. But this newfound knowledge, Akihito went to wake his teammates up. He woke Sakura up first. When she woke up they then went to look for Sasuke. They searched for Sasuke throughout the forest while skillfully avoiding Kakashi, who was still looking for Akihito. Where can the sneaky prince be, thought Kakashi while looking for Akihito. Akihito and Sakura found Sasuke stuck in the hole he was forcefully put inside. When Sasuke saw Akihito and Sakura coming to help, he glared at them with enough intensity to make even Madara jealous. Akihito knew that Sasuke didn't want their help, but he still helped Sakura get Sasuke out. He knew that this hurt Sasuke's uchiha pride. "What are you guys doing? I didn't need help," said a livid Sasuke. "Oh, shut up will you, we are just trying to help you." "We need your help," said Akihito. Sasuke just looked at them with a disinterested look. "I know you don't like us, but we need your help in defeating Kakashi," said Akihito. "And why would I do that?" said Sasuke. "Because this test is based on teamwork." "Go on." "Look, Kakashi knows that we can't beat him by going at him alone. He wants all of us to cooperate with each other so we can have a chance of even laying a jutsu on his lame head. So are you willing to help us?" Sasuke thought of this for a moment and nodded. "Okay, here's the plan." While Akihito was busy explaining the plan, we go back to Kakashi, who was still searching for Akihito. "I wonder where Akihito is hiding." When Kakashi was looking around the forest, Sasuke and Akihito jumped out of the forest and sent their combined jutsu at Kakashi. Fire style. Fire bullets. Water style. Water blades. When Kakashi turned around he saw a combination of jutsus hurtling at him. He tried to jump away but he was too late. The combined jutsus made contact with him and it sent him flying all the way to the other side of the training grounds. When Akihito and Sasuke made their way to Kakashi, Kakashi was laying on the ground with tattered clothes and a bloody face. Akihito made his way to Kakashi when two Kakashis appeared behind him and Sasuke and punched them. Akihito and Sasuke exploded. Kakashi's eye widened, they were shadow clones, then where are they? "Oh Kakashi." Kakashi looked behind him and saw all of them looking at him with a hint of mischief. He looked carefully at them and saw that they were hiding something behind them. "There you are, I was wondering where you were hiding." Akihito smiled at Kakashi. "Well, we were busy." "Busy with what?" asked Kakashi. "We were busy getting the limited edition of Icha books that were just released. I noticed that you were reading an old book. That is why I got the limited edition books that were just released." Kakashi sent an unamused look at Akihito. "Look, if you think you can bribe me, it's not gonna work." Akihito, Sasuke, and Sakura looked at each other with a confused look. Then Akihito chuckled, "You must be mistaken, Kakashi-sensei, we got the book so we can burn them in front of you." Kakashi's eye widened. "What? If you give us the bells we will consider not burning the books, if not you know what will happen." Kakashi thought for a moment, then shook his head no. "Oh well, your loss, now." When Akihito said, "Now," Sakura poured gasoline over all the books and Sasuke casted the fire style. Great fireball just over the books. In a second the books went into flames. Kakashi screamed no. Okay, I will give you the bells." Kakashi gave Akihito the bells and told them that they all passed. All of them were so happy that they passed, and Akihito told his teammates that this calls for a celebration. "Let's go to the Akimichi's place and celebrate, Dad, I mean damn great." Akihito nervously laughed. Kakashi narrowed his eye at Akihito's little slip-up. He almost said Databeo. When Kakashi was about to ask Akihito about his little slip-up, Akihito reminded him of something. "Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, those were all of the limited edition in Konoha." Kakashi screamed at went to extinguish the fire. His students just laughed at him and went on their way to celebrate. Hokage Tower. The Hokage and the other senseis were waiting for Kakashi to arrive. They were getting restless when Kakashi finally arrived with burned clothes and a half-burned book. "Kakashi, what happened to you?" Kurenai said sarcastically. Kakashi looked at Kurenai and said, "If you don't have devils for students, shut up." Everyone was surprised of Kakashi's outburst, especially Kurenai. Okay, Kakashi, that's enough, but tell us, what happened? Asked the Hokage. Kakashi began to tell his tale of his students to the other senseis and the Hokage. When he finished telling his story, everyone laughed at how unfortunate for him to get those kinds of students. After that, the Hokage asked if his students passed. He said yes, and this surprised everyone since he usually fails every students. So Kakashi, mind telling us why you suddenly had a change of heart? Asked the Hokage. They not only burned all the latest edition of Icha books, but they worked as a team and they also seemed to be very sneaky. Especially Akihito, I couldn't find him when I was looking for him all over the training ground. That prince is really a sneaky individual. The Hokage nodded. Then he dismissed all the other senseis except for Kakashi. Kakashi, do you have anything to report about the prince? Kakashi nodded. Lord Hokage, well, the prince was talking with his teammates about going to celebrate. He made a little slip up with the word dad. I think he was about to say Dadabeo but refrained from doing it. The Hokage nodded at the little information and waited for his Anbu agents to come so he can confirm their discovery. He then dismissed Kakashi and waited for his Anbu agents. After 4 hours of waiting, his agents finally arrived. Lord Hokage, they greeted. What have you found? Said the Hokage. Lord Hokage, per your order. We have investigated the Crown Prince and have found some intriguing new information on him. We have found that he. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.